Buenos dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it. You already know how I do it, like a motherfucker smack at it. And as you can tell today, the guy sitting right here next to me, wait up, I said that way. He's this way, is no one other than one Mr. Rick Riley, Sundown. For those of you that don't know and haven't seen his book or read his book, A Thief on the Cross, he's an author, retired NF member, first generation. This man has seen it all, done it all, been on several yards, got more time in than 10 people on a panel. Real life, real situations, real stories. He's here to tell a story, something he's never spoke on, something he's never talked about. We actually got into discussion behind the scenes. He told me, hinted that this story right here has never, ever hit the surface. So this is something unknown, unheard of, unseen. Only he's seen it, lived it. I'm gonna let him tell you why he's doing it, the reasoning behind it, and then we're gonna get straight into the story. So with that being said, Mr. Rick Riley, do your thing, brother.
All right. In all the murders I've committed, two have stuck with me. The one with I wrote about in the book, Loopy, because and the only reason why that stuck with me is because even though I didn't consider him a brother, he was a brother, and it's the only brother I ever killed. Um, and this one, and as I tell this one, it'll become clear. Now, I want to make something clear about why I'm doing this. I have a prison ministry in which I help prisoners. I send them packages. Um, I take their phone calls. I do legal work for them. Christmas is coming. I have a lot of mouths to feed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a lot of mouths to feed, and that means a lot of prisoners to take care of. And I'm doing this so that hopefully people listening to this, will feel that to donate. A lot of people have asked, "How can we donate? How can we donate?" Well, here we go. Gunners said that he would do the platform. I would do this, and any donations coming in, Gunner would make sure it went to the prisoners. Okay, so that's why it's being done. Uh, what I'm going to tell you today, I've never told anybody, um, and it has stuck with me, and I'll tell you why. Okay, as you know, I'm NF. I was NF. I'm retired. Um, we went out and we hit the streets, and we started establishing regiments. And the regiments, what we were out there to do was to take over organized crime. That's what we were. We weren't a gang. We were organized crime. So we organized the prostitutes, and the drug dealers to pay us for protection. You know, in exchange, the prostitutes would get protection. Plus, if they got busted, they would call and we would bail them. They would get lawyers. The drug dealers, they paid protection. They paid a percentage, and we protected them from anybody. Anybody who messed with them. Um, so that's what we were establishing, and the MA was trying to do the same thing. Now, this story is about the MA coming against us. I know Mondo says that only one MA was ever killed in the history of the war. That's not true. Um, so we have our regiment established. We're doing good. We have our prostitutes. We have our drug dealers. We have our extortion. We have our loan sharking. So we're doing good. So the MN, they're like I said, they're doing their thing. Now there's this one particular MN. Now he's with the business. He's a hitman. You know what I mean? He's killed one of our brothers in the prison, and he's killed another brother on the streets. So this guy's, he's dangerous. Yeah, we'll call him Angel. So anyway, so they come up into our territory and they start contacting our prostitutes and our drug dealers, saying that they're offering them protection. They're saying that they're going to be taking over, that the NF isn't going to be in charge here anymore, that they're moving in and they're going to take over. Well, it also turns out that, like I said, this guy had killed one of our brothers on the streets, and this was fresh. So, and we knew about him. Um, we get word, well, the prostitutes contact us and the drug dealers contact us and let us know that this guy's getting at them, telling them that, offering them protection and that we're not going to be here anymore. So now we know that this guy who's a known hitman is in our area. You know, Turns out that he's one of the northern. I shouldn't even said that, but his family lives up north, and there were. Oh, that's another thing too that you need to know. A lot of NF were from Southern California, and a lot of MN were from Northern California. Everybody thinks it was a north-south thing. It never was. It's organized crime. But it turns out this guy's family lives in Northern California, uh, and that's where he paroles to. So they're approaching our prostitutes, they're approaching our drug dealers, saying they're going to be taken over, offering them supposedly a better deal. You know, we take 25%, they're offering 20%. And also he's selling heroin, you know, so he sells some heroin to some of our drug connections. Now, we're more concerned with the fact that this hunter, this killer, this hitman is in our area. And so we have to be ready, you know, and we got to look for him because he's going to be killing us. You know, he said that we're not going to be here, so he's going to be hunting us. So we have to get him. Like I said, he contacted our prostitutes. He contacted some of our drug dealers. Now we got to find him. Well, it turns out that one of our prostitutes, you know, happens to have sex with him, right? And it turns out that he takes her to a motel, and it's a motel that he's staying in. He made that mistake. He should have never done that, you know? And so that's how we get a lead on where he's at. So I'm assigned, and another brother, we're assigned to go after him. So we're going to get him. You know, that's our job, to hunt him down, get him. So we set on this motel where he's supposed to be staying. Now, he had a Bonnaroo car, and I'm not going to tell you anything about the car other than it was Bonnaroo, and he loved that car. And one of the things this prostitute told us is that he's a freak about that car. You know, he was really nuts about that car. Didn't want nobody touching it, no smoking in the car, all that other stuff. That was his baby. He loved this car. It's going to come into play later. So we're setting up. It just so happens we're setting up on this motel room. And he comes out of the motel. Me and this other brother, we're sitting there. And he comes up out of the motel. And he goes into this car. And the brother's like, should we smoke him now? I said, no. Let's see what he's going to do. Because now remember, there's another guy out here somewhere. So I want to see if he's going to go to this other guy or what. So we tail him. And he ends up going to a church, you know, and this kind of blows my mind. I'm like, what's he doing at this church, you know? And so we pull in behind some cars, because there was like cars there this night. They were having some kind of service inside the church. This is at nighttime. And he's sitting in his car for a few minutes. We're kind of watching him. This other car pulls in, and this lady gets out with a couple of kids. And he goes over to her, and we can kind of hear him talking. And it turns out this is his mother. You know what I mean? And so apparently, you know, he promised that he would go to church with his mom and stuff. She was a real religious woman. And my friend is saying, should we hit him here? I said, no, we ain't. I'm not hitting nobody on no church grounds. You know what I mean? It's not going to go down like that. So they go into church. We sit out there and we wait. They come out from the church services, and he walks his mom to the car. Well, we had moved our car over behind and a car over so I could kind of observe better. And I knew I kind of had a feeling he was going to walk his mom to the car, right? They were going to go there. So I wanted to see if I could hear anything. So sure enough, he walks his mom to the car, and his mom's kissing on him and thanking him for coming to church. And she starts telling him, you know, mijo, I just wish you would have went down, you know, and gave your life to the Lord. And he's like, Mom, no, I couldn't do that, you know. And I came because I promised you I would come. And so they kissed. They said their little goodbyes and stuff like that. So we tailed him back. And as we're tailing him, he goes to the Stro. Now, this is nighttime now. He goes to the Stro, and he picks up this broad, one of our broads that works for us. And he takes her back to the motel. You know, now the other brothers said, we're going to hit him here now. No, there's a witness in there. We're not going in there. You know, as long as that broad's in there, we're not going in there. So he's in there with that broad for a few hours actually. And she comes out after we're sitting there just tailing, waiting. She comes out. She gets a cab. She leaves. So we sit a little while longer. We sit a little while longer. Okay, now this is the plan. We got our plan down. Now we have a bag with our supplies in there. You got duct tape. We got ties, flashlight, everything that we need, stuff like that. Anyway, so I tell him, look, this is the plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knock on his door and I'm going to tell him that I bumped into his car as I was backing out. And the manager said that the guy who owns the car lives in this room. Get him to open the door, right? You're going to be crouched down right here. Now, if he opens that door, I'm going to hit that door, knocking him back, and I'm going to be on him. You got to come in behind me, and we're going to be on him. You know, so that's what we do. I go to the door, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning by now. So I go to the door, knock on the door, and he's, who is it? And I tell him, and I go through my spiel. Hey, I was backing out and I bumped into this car, and the manager told me that the person who owns the car lives in this room, is in this room. Well, this guy freaks out, right away. My car, and he opens the door without even thinking. All he's thinking about is his car. I hit it. We go in. We knock him down. We got him down. Got him, my hand over his mouth, gun to his head. Close the door. We wait a second, look around to see if anybody's heard us or seen us going in. It seems to be good. All right, quiet. We lift him up, set him on the bed, and over on the little desk there inside the motel, there are ounces of heroin, and there's also paraphernalia that looks like he was just getting ready to fix when we rolled in on him. And so we got him, and the brother that's with me is like, are we going to do him here? Now, we could have strangled him there. We could have, one of us hold him, one of us strangle him, one of us hold him, one of us stab him, whatever, But now all this time I'm thinking about his mother. Now, remember, my mother was murdered. I don't know, for those of you who read my book, my mother was murdered. And I love my mother. She was the world to me, but she had been murdered. And the scene in that parking lot between him and his mother had affected me. And that's all I can tell you is that it affected me. So we got him sitting there on the bed, and we're gathering up all shit. We got his guns. We found his guns. We found his dope. We found everything. So I'm looking over at the dope. I seen that he had been getting ready to fix, right, when we rolled in on him. And so I tell him, go ahead, man. I let him go ahead and fix the dope. I tell him, go ahead and fix the dope. He's getting ready to fix. So I tell him, go ahead and fix it, man. So he fixes, and, that was just, real nice of me, I guess, but he fixes the dope. But I also make it a condition of his cooperation with us. Like I tell him, look, we can kill you right here, right now. We can strangle you. We can stab you. It's your choice. I'm going to let you do this dope. You got to cooperate, and I have questions for him, about the other guy that was with him. Anyway, so he shoots the dope. He feels better. And then when I'm gathering up his dope and shit like that, I see a little Visine bottle there. It's filled with dope. A little Visine bottle. And I asked him about that. And he says, well, he takes it to squirt, to snort, when he can't fix, what I mean? So I said, well, okay. So I throw it inside the bag. This will come in later too. So the brother is like, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with him? So I says, well, we're going to take him. After I find out the information I want to know from him, as much as he's willing to give up, and so the plan is the other brother goes out. He backs the car up to the room, to the parking space right out in front of the door. He backs it up into there. Now we're going to put him in the trunk. I got tape around his mouth, and I got him taped up behind his hands, behind his back. And so we're looking out, seeing that no one's out there. All right, we throw him in the trunk. We start driving off. Now, I don't believe in witnesses. I don't believe in anybody who can tell on you. Even though I trust this brother with my life, I don't trust him to that degree. I don't want somebody in the courtroom someday being pressured to testify against me. So as we're leaving, I tell him I'm going to drop him off. He says, you sure? I says, yeah, I'm going to drop you off. You can either catch the bus or get a taxi. I got this. Don't worry. I got this. So I seen relief in his face, like he wasn't going to have to kill this guy, right? There seemed to be relief in his face. So I drive to where I'm taking this guy to. And it's in the country, and I take him out there. I get him out of the trunk, and I walk him down to where I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, And the time when we were in the room talking and stuff like that, I kind of started to kind of feel for this guy. And I shouldn't have, but I kind of started feeling for him. Anyway, we get down to where we're gonna go, and now in this bag, I got my bag with me. Now in this bag, I have everything I need. I got scissors, I got knives, I got ties, I got tape, I got everything, flashlights. So I take him with the gun and the bag and stuff like that. We go down there, and there's a log there, and I have him sit on the log, and I open up the bag. I get behind him, tell him don't move, don't do anything stupid. I'll kill you right now, And as long as we're talking, you're alive. You're living that much longer. You know what I mean? And so I cut the tape off the back of his hands, so his hands are free. He starts ripping the tape off and shit like that. And he's sitting there. So we talk a little bit, and I ask him, "How many men have you killed?" And he tells me 4. And he asked me, "How many men have you killed?" And I tell him, "Funny, you're going to be my 4th. You know what I mean? You'll be my 4th." Anyway, so we're talking, and I ask him, I says, "Hey, well, do you want to pray or anything like that? I'll give him a chance to pray before I blast him." And he says, "What for?" I says, "Well, maybe nothing now, but maybe everything forever." And he says, "It's funny. I went to church tonight, and this guy was preaching, and I felt like he was talking to me, and I almost went down, but I didn't. Kind of wish I should have." I says, "Well, it's never too late, man. I'll give you a chance to say your prayer, and before I do what I got to do, So he says his little prayer, right? He says his prayer. I know he's praying, and after he prays, he looks up at me, and I went back to this bag that I had brought. Now I got all this stuff in there. I got his dope in there. I got everything in there. And I reached in there and I got that little Visine bottle that he had full of dope, right? And I tossed it to him. I said, "Here, go ahead, man. Knock it out." He snorts off that bottle, and he damn near did he did do the whole thing, actually. He finishes it off, and we're talking, what I mean? And he tells me, about his life. He wished he had made different choices, but hey, it is what it is. We make those choices, you know what I mean? And so I asked him, how you want it, man? You want it from behind, you want it in front? He said, face to face, man. And the funniest thing, he tells me, he says, "Can I ask you a favor?" And this is why this thing sticks with me, people. So he says, "Can I ask you a favor?" And I said, "What is it?" He said, "Could you call my mom?" And I'm like, "Wow, call your mom." He says, "Yeah, could you call my mom and just tell her that I accepted Jesus? Just tell her that and make her feel better." So he gives me the phone number, and he tells me also that the phone number is in his wallet, which I have in the bag. So I says, "All right." Okay. He goes, "No, I want your word." I said, "All right, you got my word." So all right. He says, "Well, I'm ready." It's feeling good. Just then, the sun's coming up. Just, man, the sun is just starting to come up, and it's beautiful. And he's looking at the sun, and he says, I'll never forget this. He says to me, he says, "You know, I believe there is a God, You know why? And I says, why? He says, because he sent you to do me. That ran chills through me. You know. So he smoked a cigarette, and I'm standing in front of him. I look at him, and he says, "All right, I'm ready." You know. And I tell him, "All right, I'll see you later, huh?" And I blast him. Right. I hit him one time. He goes down. I go over to him, see if he's dead, make sure he's dead. I put another one in his chest. You know. Anyway, so I felt bad, and I one of the things too he had said about worried about the animals getting his body, and I said, don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. You know, I told him, I said, I'll make an anonymous call. You know, I'll get your body. Now back then, now remember now back then they didn't have all these police forensics that they have now. You know, what I mean they didn't have none of that stuff. You know, so and beside that, I cleaned the area, I checked the area, picked up the little tape that he had tore off his wrist and stuff like that. So I cleaned the area before I left to make sure. And so I left. And as I'm driving away, there's more to the conversation that we had, and I'm not going to put it all out there, but it just shook me. I was kind of shook about this one, you know, and I kind of felt like I was probably never going to do another hit again in life, you know, after that one. But of course, you know, I did. But anyway, so I leave. I call his mom. I wait. You know, I'm having breakfast. I went and had breakfast. And after I had breakfast, I went to a payphone and I called his mom. And I told her, I said I was a friend of his and he wanted me to give her a message, you know. And I told her, you know, that he wanted me to tell you that he accepted Jesus Christ I didn't say before he died. I said he accepted Jesus Christ. And she was all happy. And so I said, all right, want to know who I was. I told her that doesn't matter. And I hung up. Anyway, so and the reason why I didn't take the other brother with me on the hit is because even though I trusted him, I didn't want him to ever be put in a situation where he would have to tell, you know what I mean, where it was him or me. So that's why he didn't get to go with me to know where I did it or that I did it. He could never testify that he was with me. Yeah, he was with me when we went in. Yeah, he was with me when we put him in the car. But he was not with me when I took him to where I took him. And he was not with me when I pulled the triggers. So I'm not going to tell on myself, you know. Although it's kind of what I'm doing here, but you guys don't know any details. Nobody knows any details, you know, other than that
I don't
this
know
was
nothing.
a hitman. You know, uh, like I said, man, this guy had 6 ounces, you know, and he had sold dope to our connections too. So they were seriously thinking about moving in, you know, and he would not tell me where the other guy was. He did tell me who the other guy was, but he did not tell me where he was. You know, so he said he couldn't do that. But there was a respect between me and him. Is what I'm getting to. You know, that there was a respect between me and him that I can't explain really, other than here were 2 men, one on one side, one on the other. We were both playing the same game, and I respected this man. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done what I did. And the reason why I was kind to him and everything else is because of what happened in that church parking lot with his mother. Because of my mother. You know, I mean, my mother had been murdered, but I remembered my mother. And I kind of felt, you know, the other thing I want to say is that while we were standing there and I was getting ready to shoot him, I didn't want to shoot him. I wish that there was some way I could let him live. You know, I wish that there was some way I could let him go, but I knew I couldn't. You know, and I knew that no matter what, if I let him go, this guy was going to come back and kill one of my brothers. You know, I couldn't let him go. That's why I had to do what I had to do. You know, he had already killed 2 of us. and 2 other people, so I could not let him go, even though I didn't want to kill him, even though I felt, especially when he told me that about believing in God because God sent me, you know, I wanted to let him live, but I couldn't
Yeah.
because I had taken an oath. I had chosen this lifestyle. I had to do what I had to do. So I did what I had to do.
Yeah. It's like that. Was there any if I could ask, was there any repercussions after this guy came up missing or came up dead? I mean, was it a quick retaliation or was it kind of just that was that for the
No,
that
they bailed out. They bailed out.
or they just said that's it.
They
We're out.
kicked rocks. Yeah, they kicked rocks.
So the
They got,
intended purpose
it had
that's what
its
the
effect.
intended purpose was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had its
That is-
effect. Yeah, they kicked rocks. Um, they didn't contact our whores no more. They didn't contact our drug connections anymore. I think he was the leading force on it. And the reason why is because he was from that area. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
that area, but a town over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was paroled to that area. You know what I mean? So, you know, the other guy was not from that area. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The other guy came up from down south.
He brought him out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was doing what I did. You know what I mean? When I went and like when I was in Southern California, and I'd have to go start to try to establish regiments down there. That's what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was establishing
But
a regiment. Yeah.
yeah, but because we already had an established regiment there, they were going to have to kill us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was a given for them. They didn't care. They were going to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So another question. So back then, say if you had an established regiment and then someone from the other side comes over, would be the respectful thing would be to not establish where they're established, establish maybe one town over or somewhere on the other side of town. Uh, would they be able to do that without any repercussions? Where I see where this one he was trying to establish in your exact
He was
location.
trying to take over our regiment. He was trying to take over
Yeah.
our whores and our drug dealers.
Because I
Yeah,
know at some points in time
yeah,
you told the
I
story
understand
where
your question. And if
yeah.
he had, say in the town where he was,
Mhm.
I mean, if he had done something there quietly and stuff like that, he would have got away with it.
Yeah.
They were ballsy. This is war now. Remember, we're at war.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And he killed one of us, on the
Yeah.
street. He killed one of us in prison. He killed one of us on the streets.
He
When
was a
they
hitter.
came up, they hit one of us. That's how we knew they were in the area. And also they were going to our prostitutes or going to our drug dealers. They were letting it be known that they were going to be moving in and taking over under his leadership. You know what I'm saying? So this was his plan. And he made the mistake of taking the prostitute to his room is where he
Yeah.
made a mistake, and he never should have done that. So
No.
yeah, if he had done it in another town, he probably would have been able to get himself established. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quietly
You
until
know
he had
what?
strength.
What trips me out is the Emmet was establishing regiments up north. They had been establishing regiments up north, if I'm
Yeah,
correct. Were you guys establishing regiments down south?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We had regiments like in San Diego, in Otay, in Chino, in Ontario.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, we were establishing too, just like they were. The difference is like in Ontario, I mean, even though it's MA area, there were no MA in that town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were the Black Angels, and in Chino, there were no MA in that town.
With
You
the
know what I mean?
sinners, right?
Yeah. And in San Diego, there were no MA in that town at the time that we went in. His problem was when he came to establish, there were NF. You know what I mean? And so they were going to try to remove us, and like I said, they already killed one brother, you know what I mean? So it was on, you know what I mean? So the hunt for
Yeah.
this guy, he had to go,
Well, yeah, because eventually it would have been you. He would have
Yeah,
been on the other side.
yeah.
in
It
that
would
trip.
have been me or one of my brothers or,
Yeah.
so,
I
and
think
even though I felt like I wished I could have let him live, you know, I knew I couldn't,
Yeah,
and I
it's
knew I had to. So I
as a
did.
as a person with the soul, with the heart. You want your heart to, in your heart, you're like, man, I wish I could let this guy go. But your mind and knowing the way he is, and the
Yeah,
mentality and the lifestyle you guys live, he would have just came back for you.
yeah, I knew that. See, I knew that.
Yeah,
I said, you know what? He's gonna come back. Even if I said, okay, I'm gonna let you live, go, disappear, go away, whatever,
yeah,
uh, I knew he wouldn't. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, he
It
was a
was
true believer. He was a
yeah,
firm, true believer because the way, just the respectful way I mean, he took it like a man, face to
yeah,
face,
yeah,
did his little issue and said, I'm ready. Let's go.
yeah. He was,
He
he,
knew what he stood for, and he stood by his cause.
and that was part of what we in the conversation when we talked about the causes and my cause, his cause.
Hmm.
He let me know that he was dedicated to his cause.
Well, no
And I
doubt.
could and I could respect that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And he was not like kissing my ass or nothing like that. When I let him shoot the dope, for example, when I let him shoot the dope, I seen that he had been fixing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
he probably was strung out. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
That's why he was making mistakes.
yeah, and so yeah, he did. He brought the broad to the broom. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And so when I seen it was already cooked up, it was already in the rig and shit like that. It just so happened we hit the door at that time.
Yeah.
And I seen the way he looked at it. You know what I mean? And
He
I was
looked
like,
like, damn, I need my issue, huh?
yeah, like man. And I also, I kind of felt like, well, go ahead, man. And I also felt like he would cooperate. You know what I mean? Because I let him do it.
Beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, because it made sense to him. Like I told him, look, we can strangle you right here. We can stab you right here. You cooperate, you live a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a respectable thing to do, man. If that's that man's thing, he's gone anyways.
Yeah.
Um, let him get his issue on, just do your thing. Back in the days, what a lot of people don't understand, even nowadays, is there was a big respect factor. You
It was.
respected your enemy because you knew what they were capable of. Whereas now I hear people saying, they're woofing and cell soldiering and all that. It's like I've always pushed, man, you better respect your opposition because believe me, you respect a person not only because it's not because you fear them, but you know what they're capable of, man. They wouldn't be an opposition or a threat. That's how I feel. You're not my enemy. If you pose no threat, you're not an enemy of mine.
No.
You're a non-factor. If I consider you an opposition and I respect you as an enemy, it's because I respect it. I respect you. I'm gonna give you the
Yeah.
ultimate respect. So something like that, even though it's just a little gesture, seemed like it probably went a long way in his eyes too. You
Yeah.
got to let him go out the way he wanted to.
Yeah. And it was kind of the way that I remember thinking that, man, if it ever is me, I hope I get the same kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the conversation we had in the room, I came to kind of see that he was serious, and he was down, and he just got caught slipping. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And now he was going to pay the price. Uh, we could have strangled him. We
Mhm.
could have just stabbed him up. You know, but again, I'm thinking about his mom also. You know what I mean? You'd had to been there in that church parking lot and overheard his mom. And the way she was, begging him and telling him she loved him and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
It seemed like there was a lot of different factors that played into the whole
Yeah,
situation. Ultimately, it ended the way it was going to end, regardless. And like I said, it was pretty much out of your hands and out of his hands. People from the outside looking in are going to say, "Well, you could have just easily walked away," but they don't understand the life, and
you can't.
especially in them times. Um, this guy would have just came right back. It would have
He
been
would.
you or him were going, and that was that.
Yeah, and I
You know,
knew that. Like I said, as I was thinking, every way possible, can I let him live? Tell him, you got to disappear. He wasn't. He was coming. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
he
That
was
was.
established. He was trying to
Yeah,
establish. He was. There's true believers, man. You cannot sway him.
yeah. He
His
was.
own mother couldn't sway him.
No,
So you
no.
definitely are not going to sway him. Yeah.
Even the preacher preaching that night, even though he said
Yeah.
I remember him telling her that he almost went down to the aisle. Right, the guy
Yeah.
sounded like he was talking straight to him. You know, but even that didn't sway him. Because he was dedicated to his cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
It's just a
and
trip. It's just a trip. Being from up north, being part of the NR, and then having close ties with a lot of NF members, we see our side, we see our movement, we see our push, but there's a whole other side there, and man, these guys are with the business, man.
Yeah.
Definitely with the business,
Yeah, he was definitely with the business. Like I said, the whole thing that was going on with him telling them that they were going to be taking over and NF wasn't going to be a factor anymore. This was his project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he was killed, the project disappeared. It dissipated. You know what I mean? It was
it left with them. It ended with them. His dream ended with them. Yeah.
It ended with them. And also, by doing that, I didn't have to worry about any of my brothers getting killed, any more of my brothers getting killed, and which was my number one responsibility.
Yeah.
I had to think in that moment, no matter how bad I didn't want to do it, no matter how bad I wanted to let him get away, I had to think about the consequences.
Yeah. What I see as true irony, and I see that it's ironic that he got killed at sunup by a guy named Sundown.
Wow, I never thought about that.
It's very ironic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that's like everything in life is meant to be. You were meant to be in that position. But yeah, he got killed basically on sunup by sundown.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's just something I just picked up on. Like, wow, things like that. It's irony. It's just life.
Yeah.
It's the circle of life.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's a trip, and it's something that you live with every day. And I'm glad that you told the story now, because maybe it's a little bit more pressure off you that you finally told the story out there. Of course, names were not used in this story. No implication. There, keep on knocking, but you can't come in. There's nothing like that going to go on here. This is just a true story told by a true person that did this. That's actually saying that he was feeling remorseful at that time. Nowadays, let's touch on it. Nowadays, how do you feel about that? Do you think about it all the time? Like, man, I wish that was the one that I could have let go.
I do think about it a lot, but when I think about it, believe it or not, just like what you just said about at sunrise by sundown, I never thought about that before until right now. But I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? When he told me that he now believed in God because God sent me, that really affected me, and it still affects me. I believe that he's in heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He said the prayer. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he acknowledged, and not only that, I think he really, really, what he said, he sounded like a man, a truly respectable man, a man that didn't use his words lightly. If he said something, there was meaning behind it. So I think when he told you that, he meant it. So maybe you were there, put in that position so that he could be saved.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's and that's what I tell myself. I tell myself that to make me feel better. But we'll tell ourselves anything to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
But I tell myself,
at the end of the day, it was the lifestyle. You were living it, and you were either you weren't new to it, you were true to it. You had to do what you had to do, and that was the times, man. Like I said, he was on the other side of that gun. He would have did the same exact thing. Maybe
he would have killed me.
Maybe he wouldn't even talk to you. A lot of them guys, like I said, didn't use a lot of words, man. They let their gunplay do the talking.
Yeah, it probably would have just been blam blam. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm out, and he's gonna go get him another one and another shot, and that was it. Another day, one less to worry about. It's just how that all played out.
Yeah, and even when I threw him that squeezer thing, right?
Yeah,
and he beat it up like that, and he was like, "I'm ready." I mean, and I was like, "Okay," And then he said that what he said, and I told him, "I'll see you later," and I killed him.
So trip out on this. You said that you also made him another promise that you were going to make sure the animals didn't get to him.
Oh yeah, I called the police.
Did you make that call? And
yeah, I made the call.
You made the call.
That's why I cleaned the area up real good.
Yeah, so they can't.
Yeah, and and where I had parked and where we had walked down and stuff like that. Got rid of the car, of course, but
yeah, back in them days, they weren't.
Yeah, it wasn't like it is today. Where they got so many forensics and stuff like that.
You drop an eyelash, it's over.
Yeah. It's just Yeah,
Yeah, there was no cell
I
phones, no
just
cameras.
yeah. So I kind of believe that it was a good thing in a sense. I tell myself that anyway. That that I was as good as I could have been in that situation. You know, and maybe he was right. And
Yeah.
you got to tell yourself things to live with things. You got to
Well,
justify.
murder's murder, but man,
You know,
at
I
least
can
you
say
did it.
this.
You did it with professionalism in class, as much as you could say as you could do a murder with. I know there's
Yeah,
going to be people in the comments that say, "Man, that's not classy."
yeah.
When you're living that lifestyle, that gang lifestyle, and you're really committed to an organization, um,
You have to do what you have to
that's
do.
about as classy as it gets. You know?
You have to do what you have to do. You made
Yeah,
an oath. You took an oath. You made a promise. You believed in what you were doing. Just as much as he did. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Maybe they're a little different, but they at the core they're basically the same.
yeah, and
They have
and
the
and
same.
yeah, that's a trip. And then that leads me to something that's happened recently. Something we've been hearing rumors this last few days about. We've discussed it many a times about the end of hostilities and how we never thought we'd see it coming. A day where the North and South could actually, after this 50-year war, could actually sit down at the same table, break bread, and actually, uh, have them civil conversations like that. And now, and it's been going on for anywhere from 8 to 9 years where this has happened. It got established. It looked good, from everything we were hearing. I haven't been in there, so I can't tell you firsthand. But now I've heard recently in the past 3 days that we've had a few incidences north and south in some of these prisons. I don't know how true it is. I know another channel was going to do a spill on it. He actually got some facts on it. I look forward to a spill if he hasn't dropped it already by the time this airs.
Yeah,
It will all be up to par. But is this something that you seen coming? Something
yeah.
you
I told you guys if you go back and look at the shows, I said that's why I said if I would use this time right now to build up my army, to build up my weapons, and they were going to attack because it's the nature of the animal, and that because we were weak, because the North was weak with what happened to the NF, it would be the time for them to move. I said that it's all in the show on the convict's
Yeah,
perspective.
absolutely. I remember I was right there. Yeah, you did say,
Wow.
you said right now, you said it's always time to prepare for war at a time of peace.
Yeah,
That's a
now
that's a Sun
there.
Tzu. That's a Sun Tzu quote. The best
Yeah,
time to prepare for war is in peace. Anyone
yeah.
that's read the book knows that, and it is. That's when you build your armory up. That's when you get your weaponry
Right.
game up. And
Shame on them. They got caught slipping because as soon as that went down, the first thing they should have thought was now we have to prepare for war.
oh
They
yeah,
should have been thinking that, because they should have been thinking we're weak. They're going to see us as weak, and if they're going to hit us, now's the time to do it. So we
yeah,
need to prepare right now. We need to get our weapons, and we need to get our soldiers, and we need to be on our tods. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
You know,
see, and then I don't, and right as of right now, this very moment, we don't know exactly what played into it. Could have been some personal, it could have been they got a little too close. Maybe someone played somebody. No one knows exactly yet, but what I've heard is it's happened in a few different places. So it seems
if
like a
it happened
coordinated
in a few
attack to me.
different places, it's the end of hostilities.
Yeah, it's the end to the end. Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly.
thing is over. You
Yeah.
know, and what they need to do is, you know, they need to get busy.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
and it definitely will happen, man. Anyone that's dumb enough to think that it's just going to end like that, once the blood of the North is shed, man, there will be repercussions for every, and consequences and repercussions, and that goes both ways. They're both these guys are they're both vicious. Both factions are vicious. It's just
yeah,
going to happen. Anyways,
yeah.
with that being said, man, I appreciate your time, Sundown. That was a
I
true
want to
story,
remind
man.
everybody. I want to remind everybody
Mhm.
again. Listen, I came out with this so that you guys could see something that you probably have never seen, but it's also remember that there are prisoners back there who are not going to have a good Christmas. You know, and you may not care about them. I care about them. You know, and so whatever you can do, thank you. Now I know a lot of you watch this show after it airs. You know what I mean? So I don't know, Gunner, how you want to do that.
So,
They feel
for
led to.
anyone that watches it after it airs, um, I will put my Cash App in the description.
All right.
Um, I will make sure everything that's sent into my Cash App from this video is sent directly to Sundown. I'll coordinate it with them. I'm trying to get him up to par. He's old school. I'm trying to get him up to par and him making a cash app. So it can go directly to him. That way I'm not the middleman. I don't like being the middleman. I either like being the connect or nothing else. But in this case, I will play devil's advocate and I'll do it. But everything helps, man. Like he says, he does it for a good cause. He does it for the gente that don't have nothing. And it seems like, especially with the times going on right now behind prison, it looks like lockdowns are coming for everyone. So it's going to be a rough Christmas.
Yeah, and they definitely going to be looking forward to them packages.
Yeah, and it affects everyone, man. They're not just going to lock down. They're going to lock down everyone initially, and then they'll phase it out where they let other group segments come out that don't pose a threat. But right now, other people utilize situations like this to take trash out. It's just what happens, man. Anyone that's been in prison knows that if you don't know, you'll learn here. With that being said, man, let's look out for the homie. Let's make it happen. Like I said, true stories told by true people, true life. Hope that you guys move fast with a purpose. Hope that you guys get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about going out there, moving fast, and hustling for your familia, hustling for your gente. No one else is going to do it for you. Take it upon yourself to do it for the raza, because that's what we all are. Okay? We're going to do it in that fashion. Thank you, Sundown.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, indeedy.
To the collective and to the regiment, hey, God bless you guys, whether you donate or not. Yes, God bless you guys. I've been wanting to say that for the longest time. God bless you guys. I am a minister. I'm just not Billy Sunday. My church are hardcore killers, murderers, and thieves. Anyway, God bless you.
Those are the ones that need the most help. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks a lot, Gunner.
Yep, not a problem, man. I'll stay tapped in and we'll talk.
Okay,
thanks,
brother.
All right. You already know what it is. Bang, bang.
All right.